ChatGPT.noi. Hello everyone. It's such a pleasure to see you all back on my channel today. In this video, we'll continue the heartfelt journey of Lai Hua-Ca and Officer Hung, two ordinary people whose love remains strong and unwavering through life's many storms. After the long days of rain and wind, their homeland still bears the scars of destruction. Yet in Hua-Ca's eyes shines a quiet faith, and in Hung's heart lives an unshakable resolve. Today's story isn't just about their love for each other, it's also about compassion, courage, and the way they hold on to kindness when the world around them is at its hardest. Every glance, every word they share carries deep sincerity, like the first rays of sunlight breaking through the leaves after the rain. And amid the calm, simple days that follow, their love continues to grow, glowing like a small flame that warms the countryside after the storm. Stay with me through the entire video to experience every touching moment of this new chapter in their story. And don't forget to leave a comment or a heartfelt wish for Hua-Ca and Hung, to send them a little more strength as they continue their journey together. ChatGPT.noi. The sky over the countryside still carried the damp breath of the passing storm. Patches of gray cloud drifted lazily across the distant mountains, unwilling to fade just yet. The morning air was cool and laced with the earthy scent of wet soil and straw. The areca palms by the gate drooped under the weight of lingering raindrops that sparkled faintly in the pale dawn light. Far away, the crowing of roosters mingled with the trickling sound of broken ditches, the weary breathing of the land after the storm. The field stretched wide before them, mottled with dark brown mud. The rice plants had been flattened, their stems bent and broken, some clumps reduced to bare roots. Fields that hadn't yet ripened had been harvested in haste before the floodwaters rose, the stalks now lying scattered in the soft mud. Conical hats bobbed faintly in the morning mist, farmers quietly tending to their damaged fields. They said little, their trembling hands still working, gently lifting what remained of their crops as though cradling the last fragments of hope. From the porch, Hua-Ca stood in silence, gazing across the fields. Her brown blouse was damp with dew, her hands clenched tight as if holding onto something unseen. Her eyes followed the horizon, where the mist still hung low and clouds lingered in the distance. In that gaze was worry, tenderness, and sorrow, for all those who had lost everything in the long, stormy night. She exhaled a shaky breath, her voice barely above a whisper. May God have mercy on our homeland, and never let such storms return again. Behind her, Mother Ha stepped out, holding a basket of freshly dug sweet potatoes. Her voice was calm but tinged with weariness, the kind that comes after both hardship and acceptance. My dear, no one can escape nature's wrath. But as long as we still have each other, and still have compassion in our hearts, we can rebuild everything. Hua-Ca turned to her mother, her eyes red and trembling. I know, Mom, but seeing the fields like this, it hurts so much. So much labor, so many days of sweat and hope, and now it's all gone. Mother Ha set the basket down, walked over, and took her daughter's hands gently. Yes, it hurts. But we must hold on, child. Trees that fall will grow again, and the fields will bloom once more. As long as we can stand on our feet, heaven will not forsake us. Just then, Hung appeared in the distance. A rescue bag hung from his shoulder, his boots thick with mud. His shirt was soaked, his tanned face marked with lines of fatigue. When he saw Hua-Ca and her mother, he smiled, a tired but steadfast smile. He placed a firm hand on her shoulder and spoke in his deep, gentle voice. Don't be sad anymore. What's lost, we'll rebuild. I just passed the riverbank, the neighbors are repairing the embankment. I'll go lend a hand soon. As long as we have each other, nothing is truly gone. Hua-Ca looked at him, and in her eyes a faint glimmer of light appeared. The wind from the field swept through, carrying the scent of burnt straw, damp earth, and the first hint of morning sun. Dawn broke slowly, shining on the three of them, 3 generations standing small yet strong amid the wreckage of their land. Amid mud and ruin, they stood together, 3 hearts bound by one shared belief, that as long as love endures, their homeland will rise again. A soft breeze lifted the hem of Haise's blouse. She raised her head toward the clearing sky and whispered, "Yes, the sun will surely shine again." Beside her, Hung tightened his grip on her hand, his smile calm and resolute. In the distance, roosters crowed once more, buffaloes called to each other in the fields, the laughter of children echoed through the small village. Life was returning, slowly but surely, like a river after the storm, finding its way once again. That morning, the pale sunlight of dawn filtered through a thin veil of mist, falling upon the village road still slick with mud after the storm. The crowing of roosters mingled with the whisper of wind, stirring a fragile sense of peace after days of chaos. Haise wore her old brown blouse, carrying a frayed bamboo basket by its worn handle, quietly making her way toward the market. Each step she took left soft footprints in the wet soil, a trail that seemed to follow in the steps of countless villagers who were still struggling to move forward after the disaster. The road to the market, once lively and bustling, now felt eerily still. Along the way, tin roofs bore faint stains of floodwater. Occasionally, a few vendors passed by, their faces weary but their eyes still holding a flicker of hope. Despite hardship, the village market had reopened, smaller and quieter than usual, yet still breathing with life. A few scattered voices called out across the damp morning air. "Sweet potatoes here, freshly roasted mung beans. Who wants to buy some?" Haise stopped by a small stall where a middle-aged woman sat, gently wiping the dirt off each sweet potato. Her face was sun-kissed and her hands rough from labor, but her eyes were warm, calm and kind, like the late afternoon sunlight over the fields. Bowing politely, Haise said, "Auntie, may I have a kilo of mung beans, some sweet potatoes, and a few dried coconuts, please?" The woman looked up and smiled. "Making cakes, are you? These sweet potatoes are good ones. Take a few more, dear, so you won't have to come back tomorrow." Haise nodded gratefully. "Yes, I'll take a bit extra then. We hardly have much left in the kitchen these days." The vendor wrapped the potatoes in banana leaves, tying the bundle neatly with a thin strip of bamboo. As she handed the bag to Haise, her voice softened, part comfort, part encouragement. "Storms always pass, child. As long as we're still here, and this land remains, the trees will grow again, and the fields will turn green once more. You just have to keep believing." Those simple words warmed Haise's heart. She held the bundle close, feeling the lingering warmth, not just from the freshly dug potatoes, but from the kindness in that woman's hands. She bowed her head slightly and smiled. "Thank you, Auntie. I hope everyone can rebuild soon." On her way home, sunlight began to pierce through the areca trees, glimmering on the flooded fields. In the distance, silhouettes of farmers moved slowly, harvesting what remained, replanting seedlings, mending broken dikes. Each figure was a small fragment of the land's quiet revival. Haise walked slowly, her heart lightening with every step. The scent of sweet potatoes, damp soil, and morning sunlight mingled in the air, the fragrance of a homeland coming back to life after the storm. She lifted her gaze toward the clearing sky and murmured to herself, "As long as kindness remains, our home will be beautiful again." When Haise returned home, she set her bamboo basket down on the wooden table and gently wiped the sweat from her forehead. Outside, the sunlight had risen higher, streaming through the old bamboo blinds and scattering golden patches of light across the mud-stained floor. Hung had just come back from visiting the neighbors in the village. His shirt was spattered with dirt, his boots heavy with mud, yet his eyes still carried that warm, steady light, like a flame that refused to go out in the chill after the storm. He sat down, poured himself a cup of cold green tea, and spoke in a low, weary tone. Mrs. Due's house lost part of a wall. Luckily, no one was hurt. But over by Uncle Ba's field, the water overflowed, all the rice was flattened. It's heartbreaking to see, really. Hearing his words, Ha-Ica fell silent. She sat down by the porch, gazing out toward the field still glistening with water. The wind slipped through the cracks in the door, sighing softly. A tight ache rose in her chest. After every storm, there are always so many lives left in hardship. Some haven't even rebuilt their homes, and now their crops are gone too. For a while, neither spoke. Only the wind and the sound of dry leaves shifting underfoot filled the silence. Then suddenly, Hung turned to her, a faint smile in his eyes. "Do you remember what day it is today?" Ha-Ica blinked in confusion. "What day?" I forgot." Hung smiled gently, his voice deep and tender like autumn wind. "Today is Tony's birthday. Our boy turns 2. She froze, her hand rising to her chest, her expression softening. "Oh no. I really forgot. These past days, I've just been worrying about everyone, cleaning up after the storm. I didn't think of anything else." He stepped closer and placed his rough, warm hand on her shoulder, his voice firm yet gentle. "It's all right. We don't need a big party or fancy gifts, just being together is enough. I'll go buy a chicken, maybe order a small cake. You can make those sweet potato cakes Tony loves so much." A tender smile curved on her lips, one touched by both sadness and warmth. "Yes, let's make it simple. A small birthday after the storm." Hung nodded, took off his jacket, hung it by the door, and headed back out toward the market. Meanwhile, Ha-Ica unpacked her bag: purple sweet potatoes, mung beans, grated coconut, simple, familiar things that carried the scent of home. In the little kitchen, the fire crackled softly to life. She kneaded the dough, mixed the beans, shaped each small round cake with care. The smell of sweet potatoes filled the air, blending with the rich scent of coconut and the faint smoke from the stove, a fragrance of warmth, of family, of life returning after hardship. The rhythm of chopping, stirring, and boiling rose like a melody of renewal. Outside, the wind rustled through the gourd vines, sunlight glinting off the damp yard and flickering across her busy hands. As she worked, Ha-Ica hummed a gentle lullaby. "Sleep well, my dear child, tomorrow the sun will shine again." When Hung returned, he brought a small birthday cake wrapped in paper, a freshly boiled chicken, and a few wildflowers he'd picked along the roadside. His smile was proud and bright. "Well, it's a birthday feast, I'd say. Not fancy, but filled with love and laughter, that's all we need." The family gathered together. Mother Ha held Tony in her arms, the little boy giggling at the flickering candlelight on his tiny cake. Hung began to sing softly, his deep voice filling the modest home with warmth. Ha-Ica looked at her son, her husband, her mother, her eyes shining with quiet, profound happiness. In the humble kitchen, the candlelight glowed softly. Laughter and song mingled with the evening breeze, creating a tender harmony in the heart of a village still scented with rain and earth. There were no grand gifts, only the sweet aroma of purple sweet potato cakes and a small birthday cake. But in that moment, this simple joy was the most precious thing they had. The afternoon sun sank slowly, spilling golden light over the tiled roofs that had just been patched after the storm. The village road glistened with puddles, reflecting the shimmering streaks of sunset. The wind rustled through the rows of areca palms, carrying with it the scent of young rice and freshly turned earth. The sky was higher, clearer, as if trying to soothe the scars that still lingered on this gentle land. In the small kitchen, the fire crackled softly in the hearth, its smoke curling lazily through the air, blending with the mouth-watering aroma of roasted chicken. The house, once silent through the stormy days, now glowed with a rare warmth. Mother Ha walked in from the front yard, holding a small basket of roasted sweet potatoes and freshly boiled eggs. Her suntanned face was calm and kind, lit by the tender smile that only years of hardship could shape. "I brought a little gift for Tony," she said softly, her voice gentle but full of love. "He's turning 2 today. I don't have anything fancy, just some eggs, so he'll grow strong." Ha-Ica took the basket and set it on the wooden table, smiling through a wave of emotion. "Everything you give is precious, Mom. Just being able to sit together like this, that's already a blessing." Little Tony toddled around the room, his small feet tripping on the mat but his laughter ringing bright. In his hands, he clutched a tiny wooden car that Hung had carefully made from the leftover planks after the storm. The paint was uneven, chipped in places, but to Tony, it was the most beautiful toy in the world. He hugged it close, running in circles as if holding his entire universe in his tiny arms. The smell of grilled chicken filled the room, mingling with the scent of roasted sweet potatoes, coconut, and faint traces of wood smoke. The little kitchen had never felt warmer. Hung sat by the fire, a pair of bamboo chopsticks in hand, turning the golden brown chicken over the flames. The flickering light danced across his tanned face, making his eyes gleam even softer. "Well," he chuckled, "looks like Tony's the boss today. The whole house is working just for him." Ha-Ica laughed, wiping her flour-streaked hands on her apron. "As long as he's happy, that's enough. After everything we've been through, just seeing him laugh makes it all worth it." By the porch, Mother Ha sat mending an old basket, her gaze tender as she watched her grandson run about. "Happy 2nd birthday, my dear Tony," she said, her voice low but brimming with affection. "No matter how hard life gets, it's enough for me just to see you healthy and safe." Hung looked over at Ha-Ica, his eyes holding a quiet depth. "Remember," he said softly, "there were moments I thought we'd lost everything after the storm. But then I realized, as long as we still have each other, we have it all." She paused for a moment, then smiled, her eyes shining. "Yes, as long as we have family, and our child's laughter. I have everything I need." On the table, the small birthday cake stood proudly. The frosting had begun to melt in the warm air. They didn't have a refrigerator, but to them, it looked perfect. A single candle stood in the center. Hung struck a match, lighting it carefully, and the tiny flame flickered, casting a soft glow over their faces. Tony's eyes widened as he stared at the dancing flame. He clasped his little hands together, copying his mother. "Go on, sweetheart," Ha-Ica whispered. The boy drew in a deep breath and blew, "Foo, foo." The flame went out. A thin wisp of smoke curled upward, merging with the glow of the hearth before disappearing into the air, followed by clapping, laughter, and the sound of joy filling the small house. Hung sliced the cake, Ha-Ica set out the bowls, and Mother Ha poured tea. They all sat around the bamboo table, their smiles brighter than the flickering lamplight. The house was small, but their hearts were wide. Outside, the evening breeze swept gently over the newly repaired roof, carrying the scent of rice fields, wet soil, and the purity of the countryside air. Tony took his first bite of cake, clumsy but delighted, a smudge of cream on his cheek making everyone laugh again. Watching him, Ha-Ica felt her throat tighten. She turned to Hung, quietly taking his hand. "After everything, this is a moment I'll never forget," she said softly. He didn't reply, only squeezed her hand in return. Outside, the crescent moon peeked through a thin layer of clouds, casting silver light over the dew-covered yard. The chorus of crickets and the rustle of areca leaves filled the air, a gentle symphony of the countryside night. The little house trembled lightly in the wind, but inside, 3 generations sat close together, hearts overflowing with simple, enduring happiness. After the storm, everything felt calmer, warmer. And in that moment, they understood, the most precious things in life aren't what you possess, but the people who stay beside you. After the small party, the little kitchen still carried the lingering aroma of roasted chicken and sweet potatoes. The fire in the ash stove had dimmed, yet its warmth still filled the house. The family sat gathered around the bamboo table. Before them were the remnants of the birthday cake, a few unfinished slices, and smudges of white cream on Tony's tiny hands that made him giggle uncontrollably. Mother Ha sat nearby, her gentle eyes watching her children and grandchild. The flickering light danced across her time-worn face. She lifted her teacup, blew on it softly to cool it, and spoke in a calm, nostalgic tone. "It's been so long since I last had birthday cake. When I was young, we were poor, we rarely had treats like this. Sitting here today, it feels like the old days again, the joy of simply being together as a family." Ha-Ica fell silent. She looked at her mother, her gaze full of tenderness and gratitude. Taking her mother's wrinkled hand into her own, she said softly, "Mom, as long as I have you, Hung, and Tony, that's all I need. I don't need anything fancy, just moments like this." Across from them, Hung's eyes gleamed softly under the dim yellow light. He glanced around the small house, the walls still stained with flood marks, the patched roof showing the marks of recent repairs. Though imperfect, the laughter and warmth inside made it feel complete again. He spoke quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "We've lost a lot, but as long as we still have family, and still hear laughter, we still have everything. Whatever the storm took from us, we'll rebuild it, little by little, together." Mother Ha nodded gently, a warm smile curving her lips. "That's right. Every storm passes eventually. As long as we're still here, we're blessed. As long as love remains, this is still a home." Tony, sitting on his mother's lap, clapped his tiny hands against the table as if agreeing. He looked up and pointed toward the porch, where the moonlight spilled in. "Moon, Mommy. Look, the moon." The 3 of them turned to look. Outside, the full moon hung quietly over the yard, its silvery light washing over the roof tiles and the dew-covered areca leaves, then streaming gently into the warm little room. The moonlight softened their faces, making them glow with peace and joy. They sat there, 3 generations, 3 hearts bound by love. No one spoke anymore. Only the wind whispered through the roof, the crickets chirped in the distance, and the quiet rhythm of life pulsed softly in the night. In the midst of hardship, they had found a small but precious joy, the joy of a simple birthday, without expensive gifts or bright lights, only love, laughter, and hope for tomorrow. Outside, the faint smoke from the kitchen mingled with the moonlight, painting a rustic yet tender picture of peace. And in that moment, Ha-Ica whispered to herself, "Maybe true happiness doesn't come from grand things, but from being right here, in these simple moments, beside the ones we love most." The night drifted on slowly. The candles had burned out, yet the moonlight still shone bright. The small house rested in perfect peace, a simple scene, yet filled with all the happiness of those who had weathered life's storms together. If you, too, can feel the love and resilience of Ha-Ica, Hung, and Mother Ha, leave a comment below to send them your blessings, prayers, or a few words of encouragement. And don't forget, tune in tomorrow to continue following Ha-Ica and Hung on their journey to rebuild their homeland. A place where every new day begins with sunlight, laughter, and renewed faith in life.
Hello mọi người, xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình lại tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng ấy mọi người. Mọi người thân mến, thì ở trong tập trước mọi người cũng đã biết là ở khu vực địa phương của Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng thì đã gặp phải một cơn bão rất là lớn và nó gây thiệt hại rất nặng nề về cả con người và tài sản. Rất may mắn thì Hùng và Hoài Ca đều có thể an toàn trong cơn bão này, và căn nhà của họ thì cũng không bị thiệt hại quá nhiều, do trước kia đã có một cơn bão gây cho căn nhà bị tan nát tàn phá rất nhiều, thì Hùng đã cố gắng gia cố lại để có thể giữ vững được căn nhà. Thì may mắn thì lần này không bị, và chỉ có căn nhà cũ của Hùng và Hoài Ca thì bị ảnh hưởng nhiều. Và Hùng và Hoài Ca cũng đã giúp đỡ những người xung quanh rất nhiều. Và trong tập hôm nay thì mọi người đã tổ chức sinh nhật cho Tony tròn 2 tuổi. Vậy thì diễn biến tiếp theo sẽ như thế nào thì mời mọi người xem ở tập sau nha. Tạm biệt mọi người.